Okay, let's unpack this. Today, we are doing a deep dive into one of the most powerful um, and contradictory places on Earth, Mumbai.
The maximum city.
Exactly. It's not just India's financial and cultural powerhouse. It's this profound study in urban ambition where you have dizzying wealth right up against crushing density.
And it's all built on a foundation that literally had to be carved out of the sea.
Right. So our mission for this deep dive is to trace that complex beginning. You know, how a remote archipelago was physically merged into a single landmass. And then explore how that dramatic transformation still shapes its economy, its infrastructure, its vulnerability, and, its whole identity as a global city.
An alpha world city, yeah.
And to kick things off, let's start with a fact that just completely changes your mental map of Mumbai.
I love this part.
It didn't start as the massive peninsula you see on a map today. Not even close. It began as an archipelago.
A cluster of islands.
A cluster of 7 distinct, separate islands, just sort of floating off the Konkan coast. These are the Isle of Bombay, Parel, Mazagon, Mahim, Kalaba, Worli, and Old Woman's Island.
Sometimes called Little Kalaba.
Right. And trying to superimpose that image onto the hyper-dense continuous city of today it's genuinely mind-boggling.
It really is. It forces you to appreciate the scale of the human effort that went into just making the place. And as you mentioned, the city's complexity isn't just geographical. It's woven right into the very name it uses.
Oh, absolutely.
That tension between its colonial past and its post-colonial present is right there in the two names. Bombay and Mumbai.
That tension is so palpable even now. So let's get into the etymology, because the names themselves tell a whole political story.
They absolutely do. The official modern name, Mumbai, has these deep indigenous roots.
Okay.
It's derived from Mumba, or Maha Amba, which is the name of the patron Hindu goddess, Mumba Devi. She's been revered for centuries by the native Koli fishing community.
The original inhabitants.
The very first inhabitants of those 7 islands. And you combine that with the Marathi word O, which means mother.
So Mother Mumba's place.
Essentially, yes. In stark contrast, you have Bombay, the older name.
Which is the one a lot of people outside India might still know.
Right, and it's an anglicized version of the name the Portuguese gave it, Bombame, which is thought to mean something like good bay.
So the decision to drop that anglicized name, that wasn't just a simple correction. It was a huge politically charged statement in the mid-90s.
That's right. The shift was really driven by the rise of the Marathi Nationalist Party, Shiv Sena, after they won the state elections.
I see.
They spearheaded the move to officially change the English name to Mumbai in November 1995.
Yeah.
This was like a core part of their whole ideology.
Which was about what, exactly?
About strengthening Marathi Asmita, which means pride or identity, by dismantling what they saw as these unwanted linguistic legacies of British colonial rule. To them, Bombay was a foreign corruption.
And that sparked a huge debate, I imagine.
Oh, a massive debate. While the name change was accepted and, promoted by the government, for many longtime residents, especially the city's older cosmopolitan business elite, using the name Bombay was just a habit. Or, for some, even a subtle political statement of their own. It's a classic example of how a city's identity can become a battleground for history and politics.
And while all this identity stuff was playing out, the physical foundation of the city, that was a miracle of engineering from centuries before.
That's right.
We talk about the indigenous rulers, the Koli people, then the Maurya Empire, but the European chapter really set the stage for the physical merger.
Indeed. The islands eventually fell under the control of the Portuguese Empire in the 16th century, and then comes one of the most astonishing real estate transactions in history.
This is the dowry.
This is the dowry. In 1661, these 7 strategically vital islands were passed to the English East India Company as part of the dowry of Catherine of Braganza when she married King Charles II of England.
A literal archipelago as a wedding gift. It's just wild. It gave the English this crucial foothold on India's western coast.
Exactly.
And this is where the sheer ambition kicks in, right?
Oh.
It set a precedent for the city's ability to just defy geography. Once the English took over, they realized the archipelago setup was a major problem for creating a real deep-water port.
A port that could truly rival others, yeah.
Yeah.
They had to solve this problem of 7 islands separated by marshland and tidal creeks.
Here's where it gets really interesting.
It does. The man credited with starting the truly foundational work was William Hornby, the governor of Bombay. Though it was a process that took, well, generations, the solution was the Hornby-Villard project.
And a vellard is what, exactly?
It's essentially an embankment or a causeway, something you build to keep the sea out. This was a massive civil engineering scheme that began way back in 1782.
So they weren't just connecting the dots between islands, they were actively, aggressively reclaiming land from the sea.
Precisely. They started systematically filling in the low-lying, swampy areas, the tidal flats that separated the islands. This project was colossal for its time. It took a while, but by 1845, the vast majority of the 7 islands had been merged into a single, unified landmass.
Creating that long, narrow peninsula we recognize today.
And that was crucial. It allowed for the construction of major continuous roads and, later, the all-important railway lines.
So that geographic merger fundamentally created the city as we know it.
It did.
It allowed the English East India Company, and later the British Raj, to establish Mumbai as the main seaport on the Arabian Sea, especially after the Suez Canal opened in 1869.
Right, which made the city a critical node on the global trade map.
It was an exercise in pure will, building the foundation of a future megacity by just claiming territory from the ocean.
And that act of creation, while it was so successful, had these critical long-term consequences.
You mean with flooding?
Exactly. By creating land from the sea, they inherently made these large tracts of low-lying terrain that are perpetually vulnerable to drainage issues and flooding. A problem we see magnified today with the climate. That engineered foundation is also what limits the city's expansion, which leads directly to the density crisis we see now. That ambition set the stage for Mumbai to become this sprawling metropolis of over 12 million people.
And over 23 million in the wider metropolitan region.
Yeah, which brings us straight into the economic reality of the city today.
Right. Mumbai is called the maximum city because it is, without a doubt, the engine that drives India. It's absolutely earned its comparison to alpha world cities like New York.
The concentration of commercial and financial activity is just... It's staggering. If you look at the raw numbers, Mumbai generates a substantial 6.16% of India's total GDP.
6% from one city.
From one city. But it's not just the amount of money, it's what that money represents in terms of industrial and trade output.
Okay, think about this. Mumbai accounts for an astonishing 25% of the entire nation's industrial output. 1/4.
And the really definitive numbers are in finance and logistics.
The city handles 70% of India's maritime trade.
70%.
Flowing through ports like the historic Mumbai Port Trust and the newer JNPT. And financially, it processes 70% of all capital transactions flowing through the entire Indian economy.
I mean, that is an absolute overwhelming concentration of economic power in one single place.
And that concentration, it's structural, right?
It's completely structural. Mumbai is literally the headquarters for the whole scaffolding of the Indian financial system. It hosts the Reserve Bank of India, the central bank.
Okay.
Then you have SEBI, the main financial market regulator, the National Stock Exchange, and of course, the famous Bombay Stock Exchange on Dalal Street.
Which is Asia's oldest stock exchange, right?
The oldest, dating back to 1875. The sheer physical proximity of all these institutions, regulators, and exchanges creates this incredibly powerful financial ecosystem with a global reach.
That dominant identity, though, it had to evolve pretty dramatically, especially in the late 20th century. The sources describe this profound economic pivot.
Oh, absolutely. A huge shift. For over a century, Mumbai's prosperity relied heavily on its traditional industries. The seaport and the huge textile mills.
The cotton mills of India.
That's what they were called. This industrial base employed hundreds of thousands of workers, many of them living in these crowded tenements called chawls.
But the turning point was that massive 1982 Great Bombay textile strike.
It was. This dispute involved nearly 250,000 workers across 50 mills. It dragged on for years, and in the end, it just crippled the industry. The textile mills largely failed and disappeared.
And the land those mills sat on became the focus of this intense politically charged redevelopment.
Yes, and this is where the social and economic geography of modern Mumbai was really fought over. Those defunct mill lands were incredibly valuable because they were right in the center of the peninsula.
Prime real estate.
The best. There was a fierce battle over who had the right to develop it. The government, the mill owners, or the thousands of displaced workers who wanted affordable housing where they once worked.
And what was the outcome?
Ultimately, most of that land was redeveloped into high-rise commercial properties, malls, luxury residences. This whole process just cemented the city's pivot toward the service sectors.
So things like finance, engineering, diamond polishing, healthcare, IT.
And critically, the global entertainment industry we know is Bollywood.
That shift created these two distinct financial geographies. You had the historic core, but then these new glistening centers popped up.
Exactly. Nariman Point is still crucial, but the Bandra Kurla complex, or BKC, was designed specifically as a modern planned financial center to house all the global banking and IT headquarters.
And all that activity translates into just monumental personal wealth.
It does. Mumbai is the wealthiest Indian city, with an estimated total wealth approaching $1 trillion, around $960 billion based on 2024 data.
And here's a wild measure of its pull on global capital. It has the third highest number of billionaires in the world.
Third highest.
So what does this all mean? It means intense, immediate, visible inequality. That vast, concentrated wealth exists right next door to some of the most extreme examples of urban poverty on the planet.
That visual and spatial contrast is maybe the single defining feature of the city. You have the concentration of wealth, for instance, along Altamont Road, India's Billionaires Row.
Right.
Yet, at the same time, the data shows that 41.8% of the city's population lives in urban slums, which, incredibly, occupy only about 7% of the total land area.
But that ratio is just.
Yeah.
It creates unbelievable pressure. And you can't talk about Mumbai's housing crisis without talking about Dharavi.
No, you can't. Dharavi, located right in the center, is a global icon of informal urbanization. It's often cited as Asia's second largest slum.
And it houses somewhere between 800,000 to 1 million people in a shockingly small area.
To put that density into perspective for you, it's estimated at a staggering 334,728 inhabitants per square kilometer.
Wow.
That kind of density. You just don't see that anywhere else in the world.
And the paradox of Dharavi is that despite the cramped conditions, the lack of formal infrastructure, it supports this vibrant, hyperlocal economy.
It's an economic miracle in its own right. Dharavi is home to a massive recycling industry. It processes a phenomenal amount of recyclable waste for the entire city.
Like plastics, metals, cardboard.
All of it. It contains an estimated 15,000 single-room factories and workshops involved in everything from leather goods to pottery. Conservative estimates put the total annual turnover of this informal economy somewhere between $600 million and over $1 billion.
So it's an engine of livelihood, operating with incredible efficiency despite everything.
It is. But the reality of scarcity really dictates daily life for most Mumbaikars. The overall residential area per person in Mumbai is just 8.3 square meters.
Which is already small by global standards.
Very small. And in the slums, where almost half the city lives, that space shrinks dramatically, sometimes to as little as 2.73 square meters per person.
This scarcity is directly linked back to that geographical constraint we talked about. The city is a fixed peninsula. It can't just sprawl outwards.
No, it has to grow upward and densify inward. And it keeps attracting migrants seeking opportunity from every corner of India. This relentless influx also produces a fascinating demographic detail, the low sex ratio.
Right. You cited a statistic, 848 females per 1,000 males in Greater Mumbai. That's way lower than the national average. What does that imbalance tell us?
It suggests that a high number of individuals, mostly men, are doing what's called circular migration. They move to Mumbai just for work, accepting the difficult living conditions, but they leave their families behind in their native towns or villages.
So it creates this temporary workforce that's less rooted in the community.
Exactly. And it puts immense social and financial strain on families that are separated by this search for a livelihood. It's what drives the rapid growth forecast. The number of households was projected to jump from 4.2 million in 2008 to a projected 6.6 million in 2020, continually straining resources.
And that transition takes us perfectly into the city's lifeblood, the climate and the systems of movement. The same geography that created a world-class port also made the city intensely vulnerable.
That low elevation is a constant menace. Mumbai sits on the Konkan coast, mostly on Salsette Island, and its average elevation is just 14 meters above sea level.
Which is nothing.
It's nothing. And you combine that low profile with its tropical wet and dry climate defined by that devastating southwest monsoon from June to September, and it means the city is constantly battling the elements.
So we're back to that engineering project from 150 years ago. The problem isn't just the rain, it's the actual structure of the city, right?
Precisely. The land reclamation that merged the 7 islands created these extensive low-lying plains and filled in marshlands. These areas, they lack natural slopes and struggle immensely with drainage. And the flooding is made worse by climate change, sure, but also by unplanned drainage, poor waste management blocking the drains, and informal settlements built on the most vulnerable, lowest ground.
We have to mention the most dramatic example of this. The sheer volume of water that can fall in a single day is almost unbelievable.
The record was a catastrophic 944 millimeters or 37 inches on July 26, 2005.
One day.
In a single day. That event was a city-stopping disaster. It caused widespread disruption, infrastructure damage estimated at $1.2 billion US, and tragically, between 500 and 1,000 deaths.
Mostly in the informal settlements.
Mostly there, and due to flooded transport systems. The Mithi River, which is a major drainage channel, just swelled uncontrollably. That event is a stark reminder that the city is in a constant battle against the very geography it created.
And yet, despite those constraints, the city has managed to build this heroic, hyper-efficient system of movement, which is the key to its whole economic function.
It's the absolute lifeblood. Without its public transport, Mumbai would simply stop. The suburban railway, the famous locals, and the best buses accounted for roughly 88% of all passenger traffic back in 2008.
Let's focus on the suburban railway, the locals. That really is the backbone of the city's mobility.
It is. It's managed by 2 zones. The Central Railway, headquartered at Chhatrapati Shivaji Terminus, and the Western Railway, headquartered at Churchgate.
The scale is just colossal.
It's huge. In 2007, the locals carried 6.3 million passengers every single day.
Wow.
But the stat that really captures the struggle and the efficiency of the system is the passenger density. A typical train is designed to comfortably carry about 1,700 passengers.
So,
During peak hours, those same trains regularly carry around 4,500 people.
4,500.
This gives Mumbai the highest passenger density of any urban railway system in the world. It's a phenomenon known locally as the super dense crush load.
I think it's important for you to get a sense of the physical reality of that.
Yeah.
It's not just crowded. It's a form of intensely efficient, highly structured chaos.
Absolutely. It's a culture of movement. People literally hang out of the open doors, timing their entry and exit with millisecond precision.
Yeah.
And yet, miraculously, the system mostly works. And crucially, the trains also act as a social engine. They have distinct ladies-only compartments, which provide a vital and often safer mode of transport for the massive female workforce.
That unrelenting pressure on the locals has forced major investment in other infrastructure, though.
Yes. Recognizing the system's limits, newer rapid transit systems have been introduced. The Mumbai Metro network, for example, is meant to cut across the peninsula and relieve the burden on the existing north-south rail lines.
And there's the monorail, too.
Right, another piece of that puzzle, connecting specific neighborhoods.
And beyond the rails, the road infrastructure has seen massive projects, too, connecting the main island to the mainland.
2 really stand out. First, the Mumbai-Pune Expressway, which was India's first 6-lane concrete expressway. It was fundamental in linking the city to its economic hinterland.
But the newer project is maybe even more crucial.
The Mumbai Trans Harbour Link, or MTHL, it's also called Atal Setu, a massive 21.8-kilometer sea bridge that just opened in January 2024.
And what's the strategic importance of that bridge?
It connects South Mumbai directly to Navi Mumbai, the planned township across the creek. This is critical because it aims to cut travel time. And, more importantly, it facilitates better connectivity to the JMPT port.
The port that handles most of the modern container traffic.
Exactly. The MT cells is an attempt to decentralize some of that central congestion that has plagued the core peninsula for so long.
That blend of historic systems and cutting-edge engineering really defines Mumbai's relationship with movement. So let's move on to the cultural heart and the aesthetic layers of this incredible place. If finance is the engine, media and entertainment are the lungs.
And that means Bollywood. Mumbai is the undisputed birthplace of Indian cinema. The name Bollywood itself, a mix of Bombay and Hollywood, speaks to its global aspirations and scale.
And the output is just enormous. Bollywood churns out roughly 150 to 200 Hindi-language films a year.
And those films, their stars, they define fashion, music, and social discourse across South Asia and the global Indian diaspora. Major events, like the Filmfare Awards, are national spectacles.
But it's important to note, Mumbai's cinematic influence goes beyond just Hindi films.
That's a great point. It's a critical hub for several other regional film industries, including Marathi, Bengali, and Gujarati cinema. And the city itself often serves as the silent, dramatic character.
We mentioned Slumdog Millionaire, but the city's landscapes are constantly being defined through film.
From busy train platforms to high-rises, yeah.
And the media history runs so deep. The city is also home to Asia's oldest continuously published newspaper, Bombay Samachar, which has been printed in Gujarati since 1822.
That kind of longevity just underscores the profound history of communication and commerce tied to this port city.
So moving from media to the physical canvas of the city, the architecture tells this unique story of blending cultures and eras.
It's not visually homogeneous at all. It's a dramatic layering of styles.
You see this juxtaposition of these monumental styles, Gothic Revival, Indo-Saracenic, and Art Deco. Where can you see the clearest examples of that?
Well, the British legacy is deeply embedded in the Gothic Revival style. You see it in structures from the late 19th century, like the iconic Chhatrapati Shivaji Terminus.
Formerly Victoria Terminus.
Right, and the buildings of the University of Mumbai. These were all designed to project colonial authority and grandeur.
And then there's the Indo-Saracenic style,
Which blends Indian, Islamic, and European features. You see that in public monuments like the iconic Gateway of India, standing watch over the harbor.
And then there's the incredible fact about Art Deco. I still find it astonishing that Mumbai has the second highest number of Art Deco buildings in the world.
Second only to Miami. It's a fantastic hidden gem of the city's identity. Art Deco flourished in the 1920s and 30s. These buildings, with their streamlined shapes and geometric motifs, are concentrated mostly along the famous seafront promenades, Marine Drive, and Oval Maidan.
And the existence of this massive, cohesive Art Deco ensemble is a huge point of pride.
And it contributes significantly to the city's 3 UNESCO World Heritage Sites: the ancient Elephanta Caves, the Gothic CST, and then the Victorian Gothic and Art Deco ensemble itself.
And the pressure of density, of course, means the building boom hasn't stopped. We talked about the need to build upward.
Exactly. Land is the single most valuable commodity. Mumbai has the highest number of skyscrapers in India, with hundreds of existing towers and many more under construction.
Let's talk about the democratic equalizer in Mumbai, street food. It's a cultural phenomenon that seems to cut across all the social barriers we've discussed.
Oh, street food in Mumbai is absolutely central to the city's rhythm. The reason it's so important is sociological. People from all economic classes, from the day laborer to the corporate executive, eat on the roadside.
Often around the clock.
Around the clock, whether it's the famous vada pav, which is like the city's vegetarian slider, or pav bhaji. These foods are cheap. They're everywhere, especially around crowded transport hubs like railway stations.
And the vendors are really credited with developing this whole distinctive democratic food culture.
They are. They provide essential fuel for the city's massive workforce, quickly and affordably.
And finally, we have to touch on the city's undisputed sporting obsession, which is, of course, cricket.
Cricket completely dominates the cultural scene. It's another powerful social glue. Mumbai is the home base for the BCCI, the Board of Control for Cricket in India.
And it has the hugely popular IPL team, the Mumbai Indians.
And its first-class team has won the Ranji Trophy a record 41 times.
Its global importance is measurable, too. The Wankhede Stadium hosted the final of the 2011 ICC Cricket World Cup.
And here's that great bit of trivia. Mumbai and London are the only 2 cities in the world to have hosted both a World Cup final and the final of an ICC Champions Trophy.
Which just underscores the city's enduring global role in the sport.
That combination of economic power, cultural influence, and sporting obsession really paints the full picture of this intensely driven city.
So let's bring it all back home for our synthesis. We've explored Mumbai as a city forged by sheer will, rising from 7 disparate islands to a massive peninsula through centuries of aggressive engineering.
It's a profound study in paradox. You see phenomenal economic power generating 70% of India's capital transactions, right alongside intense social inequality, where one side of the road hosts billionaires and the other, the super dense working economy of Dharavi.
And its identity is still deeply layered, managing its complex political transition from Bombay to Mumbai, while just continually attracting migrants from all over the continent.
And underpinning this whole complex reality is the constant heroic movement of its millions of residents. They rely on a suburban railway system that defies overcrowding stats every single day.
All while struggling against geographical constraints like the annual monsoon floods, yet continually pushing forward with these massive infrastructure projects like the Trans-Harbor Link.
And this leads us directly to the final provocative thought about the future. The demographic forces are relentless. We talked about the low sex ratio, which indicates this large, temporary male migrant workforce driving up household numbers dramatically. The density is already staggering, forcing the city to build aggressively upward.
The pressure on space, on infrastructure, on public health is only going to keep mounting.
So the essential question for you, the listener, and for the policy planners is this. Considering Mumbai's unique, low-lying geography, its existing staggering density, which is already pushing its public transit to the breaking point, and its inherent vulnerability to catastrophic flooding, how will the maximum city manage to sustain this relentless, unrelenting population growth while also maintaining its crucial economic engine and, most importantly, demonstrably improving the living standards and quality of life for all its current and future Mumbaikars?
Can it maintain its role as India's financial heart without sacrificing the well-being of the very people who power it?
That's the question.
We're a truly high-stakes challenge for one of the world's most dynamic, contradictory, and essential cities. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive.